you wanna bet that I can get you back inside your head before the summer ends and spread a little love. Just for a little fun, I'll make you come back to me before the rise of every sun. Baby, it's meant to be, I know you got a man, but he don't understand. You're gonna be a heartbreaker. You're such a love taker. So just suck me in and you can toss me like a cigarette. 'Cause I just wanna be a bad habit, yeah. There's rhythm in our love, it's impressive, excessive. You can't make this stuff up. My chest beats, it's restless, wakes the neighbors up above. Yeah, baby, come and show me love. Baby, come and show me love. Because you're gonna be a heartbreaker. You're such a love taker. So just suck me in and you can toss me like a cigarette. 'Cause I just wanna be a bad habit, yeah.
Take a one-way ride, steal us away to find a place we can hide. It wouldn't take much to disappear for a night, just to give in to the need and leave it all behind.
'Cause I know that you know that I know that you want me. You told me, now show me, come blow me away. 'Cause I know that you know that I know that you want me. You told me, now show me, come blow me away. You're gonna be a heartbreaker. You're such a love taker. So just suck me in and you can toss me like a cigarette. 'Cause I just wanna be a bad habit, yeah. You're gonna be a heartbreaker. You're such a love taker. So just suck me in and you can toss me like a cigarette. 'Cause I just wanna be a bad habit, yeah. Suck me in and you can toss me like a cigarette. 'Cause I just wanna be a bad habit, yeah.
All right, good morning, folks. Welcome to Inside the Numbers with the People's Pundit. Follow me on Twitter at @peoples_pundit. Well, it's a busy day today for a in-between holiday season day, is it not? You got the House Democrats holding a hearing on the Hyde Amendment. That didn't take long, did it? The Hyde Amendment is the truest form of flip-flop ever. Was watching Joe Biden, who supported the Hyde Amendment for many, many years. It's a ban on federal funding for abortion. All right. Now, how does Planned Parenthood, who receives federal funding, and around that, they basically take the money for other things like, I don't know, clerical crap. The fake mammograms. Remember that? We do mammograms. We do. No, they don't. All right. They don't do anything but kill little babies. All right. That is their business. They're abortionists. All right. So that didn't take long. That's a preview of, I guess, what we could expect. And Eric Swalwell, boy, oh boy, our friend Eric Swalwell has a problem, doesn't he? This guy appears to he cannot serve on the Intelligence Committee anymore. Like, this is real. This is bad. Okay. An alleged spy got so close to Eric Swalwell that it alarmed the FBI and they had to intervene. Okay. I'm not even joking. This is the guy who pushed a Russian conspiracy theory without any evidence for years, all right? And actually, in fact, promised Tucker and everybody that he had evidence. He even told Tucker Carlson that he would go back on his show and apologize if, in fact, he did not. And that, of course, did not happen because we're tiny little men these days who don't know how to apologize or admit that we're wrong, all right? But this should be a lesson in projection in politics for all of you. If particularly Democrats, I'm not saying Republicans don't do it, but Democrats are particularly good at this. If they are accusing you of doing something like using the U.S. Postal Service to steal the election or being a Russian traitor or collusion conspiracy pusher, you rest assured that they are projecting on you what it is they are doing or what they are up to, right? So anyway, this conspiracy theory of Russian collusion was used to attack the one leader who wasn't owned by them, China, Okay. And the one leader who was willing to stand up to them, meaning China, and yet, and not to mention, it put the whole country's focus on Russia, a waning superpower that doesn't even have the power to project its own power across the stopping power of water, i.e., land, aircraft carriers, which is how that is done. A superpower does that. All right, they got like what, one rusted carrier that'll probably sink the minute it comes across the Atlantic Ocean, and nobody was focused on the real threat except for one guy. His name was Donald Trump. Not for nothing. You got to give the guy credit where it's due. And everybody else was looking at Russia for years. They pose no threat to us. They pose no threat. They are a weakening, once great superpower. China is on the rise. China is the threat. China is the one who owns all our politicians. China is the one who owns all our corporations and our sporting events. And but anyway, here you have Mr. Swalwell. All right. They bundled millions of dollars. Chinese communists bundled millions of dollars for Eric Swalwell. They put his staff in the office and he sits on the intelligence committee. All right. I got it. Look, I'll send you guys out the link if you don't know what I'm talking about. It's Axios. They had a year-long investigation into this. It's serious, folks, but it really does tell you everything you need to know about where, here, let me send this to you guys. If you haven't read this, you just got to read this. We are going to get into the poll, but I mean, this is important. This guy's he's a total compromise. This is blackmail 101. She's running around sleeping with people. And I mean, it's blackmail 101. That is like, here we go. Let's get the picture. We get the picture. Here's Mr. Swalwell. Here we go. Here's Mr. Swalwell. All right. It's just unbelievable. I'm laughing, but it's not funny. Okay. It's not funny at all. This is a serious problem. China is in everybody's pocket, man. And apparently they're in people's pants too. And, well, I mean, really, did I really need to tell you that? Right? Did I need to tell you that? Mr. Swalwell, by the way, is a married man. All right. So, the implicit allegation here. All right. Let me just read you some of this. The woman at the center of the operation, a Chinese national named Fang Fang, or Christine Fang, targeted up incoming local politicians in the Bay Area and across the country who had the potential to make it big on the national stage. She really looked at, why would they look at California, folks? Why? Why would they target up and coming talent in the political sphere in California? Because it's a very blue state and they're very left-wing, very, very left-wing. This is a state that overwhelmingly backed Bernie Sanders. All right. They're beyond Democrat left-wing. They are communist left-wing. They are socialist left-wing. They are left of center. Okay. And it doesn't really matter what you report. Eric Swalwell will still win re-election in his district. Why? Because California is filled with a bunch of commies. We imported them from other third world socialist countries and big government loving countries. Through campaign fundraising, extensive networking, personal charisma, and romantic or sexual relationships with at least 2 Midwestern mayors, by the way, Fang was able to gain proximity to political power, according to current and former U.S. intelligence officials and one former elected official. Now that I can't stand. Name the officials, please. You're a former official. There's no reason why you can't say your name. Even though U.S. officials do not believe Fang received or passed on classified information, the case was, quote, a big deal, because there were some really, really sensitive people that were caught up, unquote, in the intelligence network, a current senior U.S. intelligence official said. Private but unclassified information about government officials, such as their habits, preferences, schedules, social networks, and even rumors about them, is a form of political intelligence. No, Sherlock. Collecting such information is part of what foreign intelligence agencies do. Among the most significant targets of Fang's efforts was Representative Eric Swalwell, the collusion truther himself. Fang took part in fundraising activity for Swalwell's 2014 re-election campaign, according to a Bay Area political operative and a current U.S. intelligence official. Swalwell's office was directly aware of these activities on its behalf. Let me say that again. Swalwell's office was directly aware of these activities on its behalf. That same political operative who witnessed Fang fundraising on Swalwell's behalf found no evidence of illegal contributions. That's not the point, is it? It really makes you wonder, without any evidence, this man pushed this dangerous conspiracy theory. James Hodgkinson was so convinced that Donald Trump was a traitor who colluded with Vladimir Putin and stole the 2016 U.S. election that he got a gun. He drove in his van to the baseball field where Republican congressmen and women were practicing for a charitable baseball game and began to spray them down with bullets. How much of that came from China? How much, I wonder, of the Russian conspiracy theory actually was a Chinese effort? I wonder. You whisper in his ear a little bit. You're going to keep pushing this conspiracy theory. Pillow talk, Eric. That's not the point whether it is illegal or not. The point is, it is political information or political intelligence when you're using things, intimate details about somebody and holding it over their head. The problem in this country, frankly, is that so much of this crap is legal. Like the Biden crime family syndicate, the Clinton crime family syndicate. That there's nothing really, this is why people have a hard time grasping it. And how could pay for play be, how could this be allowed to continue? Because so much of it is perfectly normal corruption. This is how we operate, sadly. Federal Election Commission records don't indicate Fang or self-made donations, which are prohibited from foreign nationals. Well, of course not. And by the way, the Foreign Agent Registration Act, I don't know whether or not that's really relevant here, but nobody even enforced that until Robert Mueller's special counsel probe used it on Trump allies. Nobody ever cared about FARA, including Paul Manafort and Tony Podesta. They didn't care because it just didn't matter. Anyway, a statement from Swalwell's office provided to Axios said, quote, Representative Swalwell long ago, in a galaxy far, far away, 2 election cycles, long ago. You can see the words on the screen. The guy thinks he's in a movie or something, like Adam Schiff. He's a movie, a screenwriter. Is long ago in a Bay Area far, far away. Representative Swalwell long ago provided information about this person whom he met more than 8 years ago and whom he hasn't seen in nearly 6 years to the FBI. To protect information that might be classified, he will not participate in your story. Oh, okay. What happened? Amid a widening counterintelligence probe, federal investigators became so alarmed by Fang's behavior and activities that around 2015, they alerted Swalwell, giving him what is known as a defensive briefing. So it isn't that Swalwell marched into Main Justice or a bureau's field office and said, listen, I'm very concerned about how much China is all up in my office and mine and others. He's not the Boy Scout here. They told him. And then, of course, he did immediately. It is true that he immediately cut off all ties to Fang, according to the current U.S. intelligence official, and he has not been accused of any wrongdoing. That is not the point. The point is that you are sitting on the U.S. House Intelligence Committee, and you have compromised people around you. You yourself could be compromised. And for years, this was happening and nobody knew about it. The FBI didn't think to leak this information during the collusion probe. Andrew McCabe didn't think this was pertinent. James Comey didn't know about this. This was a leading voice in the collusion hoax. A leading voice. And they didn't find that relevant at all? Going after a man, a president, a political outsider, who was going after China, who was seeking to erase and renegotiate crappy trade deals that benefited the Chinese? Nobody finds this funny? And nobody in the FBI found it pertinent? You don't find that relevant at all? Man, That stinks to high heaven to me. It really does. But it really does illustrate, like I said, how much these people are, their judgment is terrible. They open themselves up to things like very routine, very typical blackmail. All right. It goes on more than you think, folks. It goes on a lot more than you think. All right. It's like Katie. It's not my hill to die on. I don't care what Katie did in her private life. I don't care who she does and does not sleep with, but I do care if you're doing drugs or, pot is a drug. I mean, of course, not that I give a damn about it, but pot is a drug. And, you can't be compromised in pictures, having sexual relationships with your staff and doing drugs together. Like, you just can't do that. You have to have better judgment than that. Otherwise, Christine Fang may get a hold of it and decide that you're going to vote a certain way or we're going to blackmail you. We're really, I don't know, the leaders of this nation, they're just not very good at what they do, folks. These are not smart people. Somebody like an Eric Swalwell, he thinks way too highly of himself. He lies with ease. He'll take over for Adam Schiff. All right. He'll take over for Adam Schiff as the biggest liar in Washington, D.C. He lies so easily, it's scary. Okay. He has no integrity. He's like little baby Adam Schiff. He'll take over for him. All right. All right. So here's a report. And somebody had asked for a crosstab. All right. So there's some more responses since I posted this yesterday. And yes, my nose is a little stuffy. No, I don't have COVID. Don't worry. All right. Let me make it full. And actually, let me just make sure I'm not showing anything, any personal information or anything to anybody. I'm just showing filtered segments. Let's just make sure it's all complete. Okay. All right. So somebody had asked for a crosstab on voter ID because I posted it. Let's go over this real quick. All right. And I can make it bigger. Bang. Yeah, I'm not really showing anything. This is raw. Remember this. This is raw. I will tell you that the sample is extremely Democratic. It is extremely Atlanta Metro. Okay. So that's why, what do? If you're a show watcher, you know this. We oversample, we oversample, we oversample. We make sure all demographic groups are appropriately represented, but we oversample the hell out of the electorate until we have enough by region that we can feel confident that we're not trying to extrapolate opinions in the Atlanta metro area over to the south central or coastal area of the state, because you can't do that. You cannot extrapolate to compensate. You cannot extrapolate to compensate. In polling, in bigger is better, right? We know that if you are a show watcher. All right, so 1 second here. Let me take a nice little slurp of my coffee while you read this, because we did get a couple more last night. We are obviously going to continue, but we're almost there. So I really think that by the end of today, I could actually process this data, weight it, and put it out. But there will be some good news for both sides, some bad news for both sides. What we will clearly show is that the media, as usual, first of all, media polls, university polls, they suck. All right. We are finding vastly different results than everybody else. We'll be much closer, again, to someone like Robert at Trafalgar, because they're not polling correctly, folks. I'm showing you even though I had started to not really want to show people unweighted, unprocessed data, I'm starting to show you this now on purpose, because I want to show you how much in a state like Georgia, you would have to manipulate the data to get anything remotely close to what we've been seeing in some of these polls, okay? In general, do you support or oppose each of the following election integrity laws and policies, or are you unsure? Very first one, we're going to look at the by race in a second, all right? But first and foremost, let's just take a look at it. Requiring all voters to provide photo identification to cast a vote. Strongly support, again, raw, heavily metro, a little bit too female, and definitely too Democratic. You ready? Strongly support still 58.7%. Another 25.1 support. Only 6.6% oppose and 2.5% strongly oppose. Take in that number. Take it in. 8 in 10 voters in Georgia either strongly or support photo identification. All right? Signature verification. 8 in 10 either strongly support or support, right? And we worded it as such. Signature verification, or the matching of voter signatures to driver's licenses or an official voter registration card. Look at the numbers. It's actually going to be higher, probably. It's likely that it will be higher in some of these various categories because Republicans right now in this sample are underrepresented, and they won't be. And regionally, we're heavily in the in the Atlanta area and the Atlanta metro area, suburbs and the metro area. All right, so bans on ballot harvesting, the practice of allowing non-government third parties to collect and deliver ballots not belonging to them. 39.9% strongly support, 18.5% support. And actually, if you look, it probably is higher. The percentage that is unsure, 16.4%, is the highest in any of the other election integrity laws and policies that we poll tested here. Why? Because it's not something that's widely discussed, right? And it's not something that's common sense. So some of these other ones, whether or not people have heard about them in the news, right? They still can look at it, read it, and say, well, it's just common sense. But something about ballot harvesting, right? They may not really fully understand. So it's not surprising to me that they're the highest number or the highest percentage of respondents said they were unsure when it came to ballot harvesting. They're just not really sure about it. They don't know the details surrounding it. So I actually applaud 16.4% for being honest and saying, you know what, I'm not really sure. But a lot of this other stuff is just common. All right, this one is a very, very, very important one. This one is the one media hate to talk about. If you think they hate photo ID, they hate to talk about this. And in a state like, for instance, Florida, or even Ohio for that matter, all right, in Florida, I'm just using specifics because we remember when we conducted election reform, it was bipartisan, by the way. One of the biggest talking or sticking points really were these election day deadlines. This is the time of a day on election day, or even in some states before election day, day before, where officials who are in their precincts and counties, all right, and I'll just read election day deadlines for officials to report the total number of votes cast in their precincts or counties to prevent suspicion surrounding late arriving ballots. Yeah, it's more than 7 in 10 in the raw data say that they either strongly support it or support it. It is very, very important to election integrity, because otherwise what you will get is Fulton County finding ballots days later, lots of them. You will get people like Brenda Snipes in Broward. That is what these are the deadlines that Brenda violated repeatedly and why she was removed. Okay. Linda too, by the way. This is what caused problems. And with her gone, with them both gone, in fact, the election in Florida ran smoothly, went off without a hitch. It is very important for guys like me and for candidates and for the American people to know these numbers. This is why we couldn't give you a solid, concrete range for how much, concrete number for how many votes, what percentage of the votes had been reported on election night. Between this and not having granular precinct level data, we were only able to give people ranges, and those ranges were off badly. And I showed people yesterday on what are the odds, but I'll give you a bit of an example. At 11:28 p.m. in Georgia on November 3rd, Donald Trump was ahead by 9 points, 54% with 1.9 million votes to 45% for Joe Biden, who had under 1.6 million votes. At the time, the estimated reported vote in was a low of 70 and a high of 15. over the course of 2 hours, the time in question with the video, by the way, all right, over the next 4 hours, Donald Trump's margin just continued to slip. Tiny numbers of votes were added to him, while big chunks were added to Joe Biden. He still, however, maintained his lead well into the end of November 4th. Then it really began to tighten to around 75,000 votes at 4:35 the day after the election. At 1:49 a.m., 51% to 48%. At 1:49 a.m., the estimated vote report outstanding ceased. There was no more, because at that point, the prior dump at 1:01, it was 86 to 99% reported. And then in truth, you can't keep dumping hundreds of thousands of ballots. All right. And then, keep up 99% in. So you can't say the state is 99% in, greater than 99% in, and yet somehow 8 to 12% of late arriving ballots represent 8 to 12% of the total vote we had seen thus far. That raises suspicions. That raises questions. That is not election integrity, especially since some of these areas, the vote totals or the increases in the vote totals were more than typical population growth would account for. It just wouldn't happen. All right. And Laura said to me, she kind of nudged me. She nudged and said, I want to say it's amazing. Even in the raw data, it's the polar opposite of what the media has been reporting. That's exactly right. And for those who don't know, a crosstab, the term crosstab is short for cross-tabulation. Okay. And it shows you not just how everybody feels, but you can look specifically, if you wanted to, at a demographic. Okay. And here, before I get back to the rest of the questions, here's a crosstab. I created one crosstab for the raw data for race by race. So now we can see how people support photo identification, the requirement of photo identification to cast a vote. We can not only see how everybody does, we can see how white people support it, how many black people support it, how many Hispanics, how many Asians, okay? All right, so strongly support. We're told, by the way, that blacks are the ones who are disenfranchised by voter ID. 77.7% of black or African American voters in Georgia. 3/4, over 3/4, nearly 8 in 10 black voters in the state of Georgia either strongly support or support requiring all voters to provide a photo identification to cast a vote. Only 3.2% of black voters strongly oppose, and only 10% are unsure, or 9% oppose, not strongly, but oppose it. So basically, nobody. All right, because this unsure, you can't allocate it to one group or another. A lot of times, a social bias will appear in unsure. It'll present itself in unsure, prefer not to say, stuff like that. Hispanics also overwhelmingly support photo ID, and Asians, look at the combination. Oh, nobody. And the Asians are a small subgroup, and that's that as they should be in Georgia. But for those we polled, almost nobody opposed it. Nobody strongly opposed it. 30 responses, and the index is 82. So 48.3% strongly supported it among Asians. 44.8% supported it. Over 9 in 10. I mean, it's crazy, man. The white liberal in media represents basically nobody. They represent these people right there. This is the media. 2%. That's who they represent. That's who they are. This is who they're speaking to and for. They represent nobody else. Strongly support white, 67.5%. Yes, it is the highest, but Asians and Asians and Black or African American voters, they make that up in regular support because only 19.7 of whites support. They just have a stronger sense of support for it. But it doesn't mean there's any less really support. I mean, they're both still fairly close. And look at Asians really combined are almost as much, right? So what's the takeaway here? The media is full of crap. The media represents a teeny tiny, itty bitty, irrelevant almost. This is the irrelevant, this is not the prevailing wisdom. This is the irrelevant wisdom. Nobody in Georgia, almost nobody in Georgia, finds it cumbersome or a burden to require somebody to have ID before they vote. It's ridiculous. Let's go back to these election day deadlines are serious. We're going to be talking about them a lot more. All right. Strongly support 40%, support almost 30%, right under 29.2. So all in all, about 7 in 10 voters in Georgia in the raw said that they absolutely support election day deadlines for officials to report the total number of votes cast in their precincts or counties to prevent suspicion surrounding late arriving ballots. It's key. It's absolutely critical. Critical. In Florida, everybody knew these deadlines were it. If you remember the hanging chads and all that, if you can't report how many votes you have that are legitimate votes by election day, then there is anything arriving after that is just totally suspect. On Twitter, the day after the election, I and Sean Davis and I from the Federalist, Sean Davis, had saw somebody who used to work for Barack Obama essentially talking about ballot harvesting, which is illegal in the state of Georgia, but they were doing it. All right. And I quote tweeted him and I said, this is illegal in the state of Georgia. What you're asking for an army to do, or we need is all the help we can get. What you were asking people to do is illegal in the state of Georgia. You cannot collect ballots after the election is over. And Twitter censored Sean, put the tag on under his, and then they actually removed my first tweet. Incredible. Absolutely incredible.
You surprised?
No, I mean, I'm not surprised, but it's incredible. It really is. So bottom line here, it is really, really critical that you have election day deadlines, because otherwise you really cannot separate votes that are arriving late because they're being harvested after election day. There's just, what could have been fabricated. Oh, we found 35,000 ballots in this person's trunk, in this truck. We found 5,000 ballots in a drop-off box in an airport. I mean, ridiculous crap. You know the stories. You know what I'm talking about. And most, not just Georgians, Americans understand why it's necessary to have deadlines. Only the media doesn't understand why it's suspicious when ballots arrive late after election day. Which brings us to the allowance of poll watchers and observers to conduct oversight during the counting of ballots. Look at these numbers. 41.7% strongly, 34.5% support. 3 fourths. 3 out of 4. Not the media. Again, where is the media in all this? Between 2.5% to 4.5%. That's who they represent. That's who they are. It's a bit of a joke, Anyway, we could do this. I was going to create a little bit more crosstabs. The one thing I'm not going to get into, though, is the Senate race today. We'll do that tomorrow when the results are released, because you owe it to the candidates to get it right. The raw is really not really something we should go over. I will say this. It looks like Perdue is not all that. He was a little bit stronger in the general than Kelly Loeffler. I'm not sure that's going to be the case anymore. It could be, but I don't know. It doesn't look like it to me, just glancing at the raw. It doesn't look like he has any more strength anymore than Kelly Loeffler has, which is definitely a deterioration of his strength as a candidate from just a couple weeks ago. I also see the impact of the Linwoods and others who are telling Republicans, to cut off their nose to spite their face. I absolutely am seeing that. There are a number of Republicans who look like they just want to throw their hands up in the air and not do anything. I mean, that's really, that's on them. If Republicans listen to people like Lynn Wood, then you really could give the Senate to Democrats, and Kamala Harris will be the deciding vote. Knock yourselves out. Plus, once a senator is elected, they're very, very difficult to defeat. So Republicans should really keep that in mind. All right. All right. So please tell us whether you agree or disagree with the following statements, or if you are unsure. And by the way, just because I saw somebody's comment in the thing, there is no integrity if this is not followed. There is no integrity if poll watchers are not allowed and kicked out. There is no integrity without a real meaningful, even as the court's definition, meaningful signature match. There is no integrity. So I don't know what some of you guys are talking about. You can't have ballots arrive after election without suspicion. Again, obviously in Florida is the greatest control we have in this country, because that is what happened constantly. All of a sudden now, Donald Trump is at 45% in Miami-Dade. All of a sudden now, Donald Trump is no longer 20%. Republicans are no longer 20% in Broward County. All of a sudden, we can count votes on election night. All of a sudden, there aren't 35, 50,000 ballots turning up in somebody's car, truck, house, tree house, dog house. Come on, give me a break. You really do represent that 2%. Who's either just naive or you're just okay with the Wild West. Please tell us whether you agree or disagree with the following statements, or if you are unsure. All right. Verification procedures should be applied to all voters equally. 62.4% strongly agree. Another 26.5% agree. Well, of course. So why didn't the state of Georgia do that? Why did the state of Georgia treat in-person voters differently than they treated mail-in voters? Bush v. Gore, people. Bush v. Gore. Vote by mail is at least somewhat likely to increase fraud. 29.3% strongly agree. 3 in 10. And another quarter agree. Strongly disagree, only 1/5. Of course it is. And most people just know that. A majority, by the way. Election officials should follow verification procedures when counting votes. 56.4% strongly agree. 31% agree. Counting in the middle of the night is trustworthy. 19%. 19.9% strongly agree with that. 26.1% agree. Disagree 21. 16 points. But you can clearly see, though, people are willing to allow that if everything else is done correctly and properly. Clearly. All right. So if they're not, that's a different story. An election cannot be free and fair if poll watchers are not able to watch, right? So that's where we're at. All right, look, it's 11:38. I'm going to take my quick little break, and when we come back, we'll go over some of the rest of this. All right. All right. Don't forget to subscribe on YouTube, People's Pundit Daily YouTube channel. Hit that notification bell. That'll let you know when we're going to go live. If you're on Facebook, we would very much appreciate it if you mosey on over to the page, People's Pundit Daily on Facebook, and hit the like button. All right. That would be much appreciated. Of course, the best way to support the show is to support PPD, which you could do by going to ppdnews.us/subscribe. Just to piss off everybody, we're going to push the polling results on PPD from now on Inside the Numbers, just to piss off everyone, because I feel like it. Normally, in case you didn't notice, we kind of made a decision that we would just stick to the economic stuff during the election on People's Pundit Daily. We were polling. We were trying to have some degree of separation between the political and the data journalism. No more. That's the end of that. I'm done with that. Also, we will have the live results for the Georgia runoffs, both Georgia runoffs. Okay. So you will be able to go to People's Pundit Daily and watch the live results, David Perdue, John Ossoff, and as well as Loeffler and Warner. It is quicker. All right. Our results are updated faster than the New York Times. They are updated faster than the AP. We are faster. So if you don't want to fall asleep waiting for your election returns on January 5th, you can do so on People's Money Daily. All right. If Twitter ever gives us our Twitter account back, then I will tweet it out. But until then, we shall see. All right. So what else am I missing? Nothing. Right. So we'll be back in about 30 seconds. Let's just take a 30-second break because this is going to be a shorter show anyway today because we got work we have to do. All right. We did a 4-hour one yesterday. I got to crunch these puppies. I'm thinking another 50 responses and I'll be good. I'm thinking, and then we can crunch it. We'll hit that today. And also we have Michigan too. It's just so early. We'll be back in 30. You're just a funny kid. All right, we're back inside the numbers with the People's Pundit. Follow me on Twitter at People's_Pundit. One more thing I just wanted to say to you guys before we go. The voting systems thing, right? You had Sidney Powell's suit yesterday was dismissed. She is going to appeal that. It is a political loser. The machine argument is a political loser. So people understand that some nations do mixed, paper ballots and machine. What voters don't want in Georgia is anything on the internet, which means for guys like me who conduct proxy votes for unions and corporations, all right, and then we based our how we do it off of something like vets.gov, the security level I'm talking about. You really have to make sure that it is you in order to get into our survey and cast your vote for whatever whatever it is members and board members or union members have to vote on. All right. It's safe. I hate to say it's safe. But voters don't like it. So people like me, if we wanted to push for a streamlined, up-to-date kind of voting integrity project, there would be a lot of work to do. Because only 8.3% in Georgia most prefer, in the raw again, most prefer or believe that internet voting has the most election integrity. So there would be a lot of work to do there. People just don't trust the internet. They don't trust anything that's connected to the internet. It's very clear. So we asked that question 2 ways. Which method of voting would you most prefer or believe to have the most election integrity? And then we asked, which method of voting would you least prefer or believe to have the least election integrity? And when most preferred, it was just about 8% for internet voting, and least prefer, 53.1%, said internet voting was their least preferred method, and they believe to have the least amount of election integrity. Electronic voting machines and paper ballots are basically statistically tied for most and least. All right. So most people think that paper ballots and even, the combination of paper ballots and electronic voting machines is just fine. All right. That's not good for people trying to make the argument that the machines were like compromised somehow. And maybe I'm not saying there's some validity there. That's not what I'm saying. I personally, investigating the states that we have been investigating, Michigan, Georgia, even now Arizona, some Nevada, Pennsylvania. I don't think the machines, as you guys know, really, that's not even part of the argument. The argument is the signature verification, the use of change of address flags that nobody was going to come and use and vote, and then the outrageous and ridiculous number of ballots in Fulton and DeKalb and other places in Georgia where people showed up on election day and were told that their ballot had been cast. And then either had to fill out a provisional ballot or the election officials canceled the absentee ballot. It happens. There are mistakes, not this many. That is, and in Michigan, what we found there is just a travesty to election integrity. It's just a complete travesty, which we can talk about in a little bit, actually. Let me get through some of this. All right. So again, I would really caution that making arguments about the machines is going to be effective. I just don't think it will be. All right. Where are we here? Georgians do not have confidence in the election result. That's that. All right. And then honestly, do you think 2020 election officials in Georgia and elsewhere only counted mail-in ballots with carefully matched signatures, or do you think that they looked the other way and counted ballots with mismatched signatures? About 4 in 10 voters in Georgia say that they believe election officials did in fact count ballots with mismatched signatures, that signature verification was not carried out correctly. And what else could you expect them to think? What else did you expect? I mean, this is crazy with these fact checkers, these fake fact checkers, PolitiHack, and now this new one that's got ties to the Chinese Communist TikTok. Any government official giving their side of the story is not a fact check. Like Robert said yesterday, it's like, Your Honor, I talked to the criminal and he said he's innocent. Never mind. It's a joke. Fulton had so many problems. They were under order to have a supervisor, an overseer. You know what he did? He snoozed on his phone, fell asleep, doodled with his phone all night in the corner, did nothing. Nothing. And the fake fact check doesn't address at all the poll watchers, the affidavits, where they were not meaningfully allowed to participate in the process. And the judges aren't even trying to dispute that, by the way. In case you guys don't read the opinions, they're not even trying to dispute it because they can't. And the video clearly lend credence to that allegation. And that happened everywhere. It wasn't just Fulton County. Happened everywhere. Give me a break. So naive, some of you. Unbelievable. Really is. All right. So, yep, I can see as more little responses trickle in that we're getting a little bit more. The electorate is getting a little bit more conservative, a little bit more Republican, but it still leans pretty heavily female. It still leans, which it does. That's why we oversample. And by the way, that is true of live caller too. Live caller is very helpful to reach millennial men, but it will skew younger male. Cell phone collection to live caller to cell phone will skew younger men. When you try to add anybody above the age of 45 to make sure you hit those groups and they're represented, it will skew female again. They all skew female in the end because females participate in surveys at higher rates than men do. Period. End of story. That's why bigger is better, and you have to oversample. All right, let's talk about here. Let's bust open a PDF here before we go. And let's talk about what we did here find. All right, just so you know. That's a summary. Oh, yeah, survey question. Sorry, that's a survey I'm working on for somebody. All right. This idea that dead voters did not vote in Michigan is a total lie. This idea that there aren't ballots cast, people who no longer live in Michigan, is a total lie. The Michigan Secretary of State didn't even deny some of these records. What they did deny was that they were actually counted. That excuse has run its course and has been shown to be a total fraud. When we pulled at random these records, low-hanging fruit, we identified just under 12,000 with varying degrees of confidence, okay, that we were targeting, in fact, people who were dead and change of address flags. Because like what this quack is trying to say, Matt Bernard's methodology is incorrect. Using the names, date of births, and addresses is the industry standard. I don't know what the hell this guy is talking about. This Democrat expert. By the way, he has written in the past himself that it is the industry standard. There is a higher probability when you match to more attributes. So for instance, first name, middle name, last name, date of birth, address. That is the highest probability right there, highest degree of confidence. And then the second one is first name, middle initial, last name, date of birth, street address, and down the line. First name, last name, no middle anything, date of birth, street address. That is tier 3 and down the line. Okay? Down the line to just not date of birth, month, day, year, but date of birth, year. Okay? There's different degrees of confidence, but there is no doubt that it is the industry standard for locating these records. And in fact, we did locate them 5 digits in that subsample that we pulled. The Secretary of State initially said it didn't mean it was counted. That was a fraud. That was a total lie. They reported last week that the rejection rate for absentee ballots this year, are you ready, folks, statewide, was 0.1%. Out of over 3 million mail-in ballots cast, 3.3 million, they rejected a whopping 14,000 ballots. That's it. Wayne County is typically lower, their rejection rate, than the rest of the state. No shocker. I wonder why. But the statewide rejection rate for Wayne, statewide is about 1/7 of Wayne County's typical rejection rate, which was already low. Because they don't really match the damn signatures. So the next step here is to take records like Miss Baker, who was born in 1927, January 25th, 1927, died August 20th, 2011, yet somehow she managed to return a ballot on October 12th, 2020 in Kent County. Precinct 27, Ward 2. You want to read her obituary? Wonderful woman. Died in the state of Illinois. Helen Baker, born May 18th, 1920, died December 10th, 2002, in North Carolina. Returned a ballot in Michigan, October 21st, 2020, in Jackson County, Precinct 2. Macomb, Wayne, Berrien, Kent, down the line. I mean, I could just keep going. On and on and on and on. Marquette, LaPierre. It's so like Republicans always want to, focus. It's stupid to focus on these bigger urban areas. Of course, they're going to have the highest number. All right. Some of this one entry in her obituary, the bio in the obituary, it doesn't even mention she even lived in Michigan. Why? Because she was very briefly in Michigan. Born 1915, died 2001. Yet returned a ballot on almost by my birthday, October 8th, 2020, in Leelanau County, Precinct 1. So what the Secretary of State wants you to believe, or wanted you to believe until this rejection rate came out, is that I randomly pulled a subsample and that all of those records, almost 12,000 of them, I just so happened to get all of the ones that were rejected. Well, that would be one hell. Guys, that would be like flipping the coin.
That's like winning the lottery.
That's like winning the lottery. It is. It really is. It's like winning the lottery or flipping a coin and it landing on its side or something like. I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy. That is not a legitimate argument. So the next step here is because I wish you guys could see the absentee ballot application. The next step is to request these records. According to law, they're supposed to hold on to them for 6 years. We shall see. We shall see. And I did the legal stuff just on the question, guys. I did the legal stuff on Alito and PA yesterday with Barnes because he's a lawyer. All right.
Yeah, no. I was just saying I need to read through the rest of it before I even make a informed decision on how I feel.
Okay. And Miss Bates, by the way, she was born in Oklahoma and died in South Carolina. All right. I mean,
that's talent.
Miss Bellamy, she was born and died in California.
And she still voted.
Born and died in Rhode Island. Died in Alabama. Born in Indiana, died in Alabama.
Well, I guess when you're dead, you can travel like that,
Voted in Wayne County. Congratulations, Miss Brooks. Precinct 1. And there are these, again, Kent County and Wayne County are the, at least in the subsample, are the highest offenders. All right. They are. And why? Let's Take a look at this. Janice Winfrey, Detroit, CBS local. Detroit city clerk wants to move on up to Congress. Oh, well, that's a great way to get up the ladder, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
All right. And then this guy over here, man, you're typical. Oh my God, you got to see this guy. City Clerk Joel Hondorp, Kent County. Are you ready? And I did this yesterday on What Are the Odds, but you guys got to hear this. Are you ready? Because people are wondering, how the hell could this happen? Well, this is how it happens. All right. I really, Robert said they outsourced it. It's probably a good way to put it. Here is a picture we received from Macomb County. And I keep this one loaded up because this is the Michigan example. We have Pennsylvania ones. We have Nevada ones. We have Florida ones even. But Florida has election integrity laws and did not skirt them. So it didn't matter that these ballot requests ended up on people's, doorsteps and in their mailboxes. Because in the end, you would not have been able to get away with it in Florida, or at least not that easily. But in Michigan, no problem. So this is 4, and in total, this gentleman received 6. Everyone who lived at his address over the last several decades, he got these ballot requests. There really was absolutely nothing stopping him from signing them and sending them back. And if you hate Donald Trump so much because the media told you he's Hitler, then you're actually the hero in this story if you fill all those out. All right. So all you really need are people like Joel Hondorp in Kent County to look the other way. During his tenure, let's just go through. Prior to being, Joel Hondorp was selected as the Grand Rapids city clerk in April of 2018. Prior to being selected as the city clerk, Mr. Hondorp served as Byron Township clerk from 2000 to 2018. During his tenure as the Byron Township county clerk, he was a township clerk. He was selected as the 2010 Michigan Association of Municipal Clerks Township Clerk of the Year. And in 2012, served as the president of the Michigan Association of Municipal Clerks. He also served as a trustee in Byron Township from 1996 to 2000. He is a member of the Rotary International, the County Clerks Association, the life member of the Michigan Association of Municipal Clerks, the International Institute of Municipal Clerks, the Byron Township Fire Department, and the Van Sinkle Fine Arts Foundation. He received the certified municipal clerk status from the IIMC in 2009 and attained status as the master municipal clerk in 2019. Joel is a graduate of the Byron Center High School and holds a Bachelor's of Arts in Political Science from Michigan State University. He was a 2003 fellow in the Michigan Political Leadership Program. Joel spent his college summers working for the city of Grand Rapids in the water department and the wastewater industry pre-treatment program. After hours, Joel enjoys spending time with his family and attending all of their various events. His hobbies include reading, golfing, fantasy football, and cooking food outdoors.
It sounds like a dating advertisement.
This guy reads like a never Trump. Yeah, like a dating. This is a dating profile for never Trump, nevertrumpersconnect.com. Okay. All right. This is what this guy, nevertrumpersconnect.com. His claim to fame is that he is a career bureaucrat. He has suckled from the government titty for his entire life. He's done nothing of value in the private sector ever. This is a very typical person who has anti-Trump aspirations. And what a great way to climb up that clock than to make sure your county flips, right? This is like, I look, there's no way that, let's grab another example. And Laura's like, well, that's what these people are,
No,
Laura.
maybe it's a tie
That's
dye
what these people are.
or boobies.
The correct word is teat,
Okay.
like a cow.
Word.
All right.
I just don't like that word.
I know. Well, it is what it is. There is no way. I got to get to Miss Cunningham, who was born in 1926. I just had to go back to Kent County. I was looking at Genesee County, Genesee, however you say it. Miss Cunningham, who was born in 1926, April 11th, 1926, died February 17, 2019. By the way, she died in Maine, not Michigan. Returned to ballot on October 21st in Kent County, Ward 3, Precinct 56. There's no way that can happen unless Mr. Hondorp allows it to happen. How many get through really tells me whether or not somebody was just looking the other way. If you see the application, and this is really the next step. You have to look for these applications. There are 2 boxes. If you are no longer at the address on the voter on record, you need to put your address to where they're supposed to send it. Okay? It's not that you got to change that on the record. But if they're going to mail you this ballot to an address that is not the address on your record, then you must put it on the parallel box and then sign your name. And then a clerk or whoever receives that application must sign that and say that, you know what, they verified it, send the ballot out. There is no chance all of these could have gotten through without people looking the other way. And then it's a matter of whether or not they counted. Well, the Secretary of State is saying only 14,000 were rejected. Mm-hmm. If that's true, then they counted. Most of them counted because there is a very, very, very low probability that I identified almost every single one that they rejected in a random blind sample. That is ludicrous. That is ludicrous. These rejection rates are an insult to thinking people. An insult. And by the way, Fulton County had problems 2 years ago. And that is why they were forced to have that gentleman at the State Farm Arena who didn't do his job. Clearly did not do his job. No matter what you say about the suitcase, he did not do his job. And by the way, that fact check did not refute anything. It didn't even speak to the central claims. Didn't even bother trying to address them. I have seen elections, many, many elections in my lifetime, folks. I have never seen ballots handled like that. Or not legitimately. Because believe me, Laura and I have seen some doozies in Broward County. Doozies. But this was a catastrophe for election integrity. This cannot legitimately be called, well, I don't want to say that. What I will say is nobody could make the argument that there were not widespread problems. There were. There absolutely were. And it's just too. Yeah, he is, but it doesn't. That's Hondorp and others. This is what I'm just like. He's a Republican, like what's his name in Georgia is a Republican, guys. Like Sterling's a Republican. He, like I said, he's like his bio reads like a Never Trump Connection website profile. Doesn't matter. That name, that R, whether they have an R or a D after their name, is really irrelevant. It's really irrelevant. It doesn't matter. As we can see in Georgia. How much does it matter that Georgia is a Republican administration? How much does it matter that the Secretary of State is supposedly a Republican? He is. Sterling is an absolute fraud. He has hated Donald Trump for many years. He has made it like his personal mission. He had been doing so since 2016. And he has never stopped being a never Trumper the whole time. Those two I showed you yesterday were very small samples of what is a huge resume of never Trump hatred. All right. And where is that? Show people from yesterday that Sterling's, in case you guys did not see what I'm talking about. And I don't want to say his name on the air, but those were the two that our buddy sent us first. Yeah. And said, have you seen how never Trump this guy really is? I mean, this man, first of all, he's unstable. If you read his old, which he's probably deleting now, we'd have to go back and see if some of the ones we screen captured are even still there anymore, Laura. You know, he probably, did you see how many retweets I got? I got 5,400 likes. 5,400 likes and 3,100 retweets. That's enough to get Mr. Sterling's attention. Mm-hmm. So he no doubt was like, oh, crap. I better go and delete all this stuff from my Facebook page. I bet you he did. We should look. We should check. but this is a very small sample. All right. Hashtag but he's ... to Clinton by 11 points. He's citing a national poll which showed Trump down to Clinton by 11 points during the primaries. And he says, right now, Trump is losing women to Hillary by 23 points. There is no way that deficit can be fixed. Trump cannot win. Therefore, he should not be the GOP nominee. Hashtag never Trump. Tomorrow is an important day here in Georgia. I remind you again, regardless of whoever your candidate is, to stop Trump, you need to vote for Marco Rubio. He is the closest to Trump in the polls here. This must be about stopping Trump. I mean, this goes on for years. He hates the president, and this is the guy who is promising that signature verification is being done correctly. He's a liar. His team are filled with liars. They repeatedly lied to Robert. They repeatedly lied to Georgia Republicans, and the RNC is totally useless. They are useless, becoming a grift. Don't give them any money to investigate fraud or fight fraud. If you want to, give it directly to the president, I imagine. I don't know what to tell you, but the RNC is now it's a grift. It's a total grift. They're taking your money. They're not doing anything. They're trying to keep Purdue. They're trying to keep Purdue's war chest fat. That's all they're doing. And their own. But it's becoming a freaking like a fraud of its own.
I mean, becoming.
It's a grift.
I was just about to say that. You took my words. I mean, any seat of power now is like the ultimate grifting spot.
Yep.
It's sad. It's disgusting.
You got your mic?
Yeah.
Yeah, let me do this here. This way. Hold on, folks. And then I can figure eight that puppy.
Look at you.
Oh, I hear you good.
Yeah.
You guys hear her, right? I think I hear her good, right?
But what I was just saying is now the opportunity of power.
Free Laura! Sorry. I had to do it.
Is the ultimate grift nowadays. I mean, I've never seen people go in making a moderate amount of money and come out billionaires. I mean, it's like the
millions and millions and millions. Linwood, millions of.
I'm not kidding.
Tens of millions. We don't know that settlement, Laura. We don't know how much he made.
And he still didn't pay those people.
Robert didn't answer my question. I didn't. I said, Robert, can I read that?
Oh.
Online. Yeah, he still didn't answer my question.
I said that out loud.
You know what?
You didn't hear me say that.
Text Robert and ask Robert if I can legally read that on air. Okay. Hold on, guys. You're damn right I am. Hold on. Here. Here's my phone.
Oh, Lordy.
Text Robert and ask him if I can legally read the Linwood thing on air. Okay. 1 second, guys.
Legally read. I mean, you want to talk about a nut child?
Yeah.
Ooh-wee.
That's the wrong thing. Yeah, Loeffler's going to I think Loeffler's going to lose. I really do. And I don't think Purdue's going to do all that much better either. Among the most likely voters, absentee voters. Are you ready? Among the most likely, David Perdue is 37.7%. John Ossoff has 54.4%. That's a big election day. That's a big margin he'd have to make up on election day. Kelly Loeffler, 37.5% of those. Raphael Warnock, 54.6% of those. That's bad. Maybe Robert's unavailable, but I'll wait to see what he says because I'm serious. I want to read that online. I want to read it on air. I can absolutely see. Is that him?
No, that's me and
man.
That's my source.
Damn. Come on.
Sorry, we're getting like messages.
Probably not. He's probably going to say no. But what he said yesterday, guys, on air is 100% true. I've read it myself. I've seen it. I know what he's talking about. And those guys, the people, the partners, they have the goods, man. They got the recordings. They have the emails. They got the goods.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm telling you, none of them got their, or at least they allege, They didn't get their dough. They did all the work on these cases, but they didn't get their dough. And he didn't make good on those promises. He's unstable, to say that. If you didn't know from his Twitter feed, the man's unstable. Believe me and trust me when I tell you that his partners alleged some really crazy crap. I mean, really nuts. But there you have it. Let's look at our favorite picture.
Someone keeps asking me about Alito and PA. I have to finish reading the court documents before I could even say anything.
I would go to Robert for those answers, guys. I really would.
Yeah, no, they're just my opinion.
Yeah. Let me pull it up while we look at Mr. Swalwell.
It's lengthy. Just letting you know, I just didn't get a chance to finish reading
President-elect Joe Biden set to nominate General Lloyd Austin to serve as Secretary of Defense. Oh, that's just incredible.
Yeah,
all right,
so
we're gonna go back to meddling everywhere in the world.
Okay.
I'm just saying, like, that's absolutely what's gonna happen. They're gonna go back to, and this obviously is in reference to Pennsylvania. Okay, Pennsylvania has filed its brief requested by Alito to the Supreme Court. They basically urged the court not to open Pandora's box, even if federal laws of the U.S. Constitution have been violated.
Yeah, because they're saying once you start opening this case up and making the person who officiates the results.
This is what they wrote in their preliminary statement.
Yeah, but I'm saying what they're afraid is once you open this,
yes,
that's
what the left is saying.
Yeah.
Well, listen.
But I didn't finish reading everything. So
the question is, though, which is the bigger Pandora's box? If you don't, Laura, you know this from Florida. Mm-hmm. If you don't follow these verification procedures, and if you don't follow these integrity deadlines, if you don't keep the power to do these changes anyway in the hands of the legislature, it's all hell.
Well,
it's mayhem.
It's not even hell.
Mayhem.
It's not even hell or mayhem. It's just a false wrapping.
Yep.
Of it's not America anymore.
It's not integrity.
It's either
the vote is
challenge it this way, or
yep.
if we go as the status as they want us to keep going on as if nothing happened.
This will never end.
No, this
will never end.
Well, once they get that foot in the door, that's it. It's over.
They just kick it open.
They
kick it open. Once they get their foot in, they just kick it open.
And they beat that drum, the same drum, and then it's gonna constantly be you're racist, you're a bigot.
If you don't want to count these votes 4 days later, 5 days later, and they did that already.
Mm-hmm. But I'm saying if it works once, they're good like that. Their team, the left, once
they get it an inch, they take a vote.
It's like a woman in a closet.
Petitioners asked this court to undertake one of the most dramatic, disruptive invocations of judicial power in the history of the republic. Well, in fact, what they did was the most dramatic and disruptive invocations of legislative power. That's what they did. And now a court is supposed to remedy that, Laura. That's what the judicial branch.
What do I say the left does? They're projecting.
No court, exactly, just like Swalwell was. Mm-hmm. No court has ever issued an order nullifying a governor's certification of presidential election results, and for good reason. Quote, once the door is open to judicial invalidation of presidential election results, it will be awfully hard to close that door again. The loss of public trust in our constitutional order resulting from the exercise of this kind of judicial power would be incalculable. And they're citing Wisconsin voters versus the Wisconsin Election Commission. Mm-hmm. So what? That order was in December, and it was Hagedorn, another very typical never Trumper. Okay. Who is a conservative Supreme Court judge. By the way, Jim, you're next. You're next, Jim. Donald Trump did better than you in Ashland, in Douglas, in the Northwest, in the old labor Northwest, the working class Northwest of your state. He did better than you there. He did better than you in the southeastern suburbs that used to be Republican strongholds. Racine, Kenosha. You didn't get anywhere near enough votes in Kenosha to stop this from happening to you next time, Jim. You're next, idiot. Idiot. All those years in school, and you're this stupid.
Hey, like I said.
You're this dumb. It's Trump today and you tomorrow. Trump today, you tomorrow. Trump today, you tomorrow. Who cares about Jim Hagedorn and what he has to say? Nobody has ever taken legislative power away like this.
Mm-hmm.
And the damage to this would be incalculable. There are more people in the state that we were just talking about who think the election was rigged and stolen and fraudulent that there are not. You understand what I'm saying? You're worried about the damage this would do? You better worry about the damage we have already done. And this will never end. It will never end. Mark my words. Stacey Abrams is doing it in Georgia right now, and it'll be worse. How much you want to bet? It'll be
the
worse.
Audacity to tell people to come move into Georgia
It'll be
just to vote and
Laura,
then move back home, rent a house to vote. Who in the fish?
But that's,
does
you know
she
what?
think she is?
Republican legislature and the Republican governor, they just sit there and take the pounding down. That's on
because
them.
they're afraid.
They're cowards. They're like, you're very typical. Actually, the legislature, I will say this, there are many in the actual Georgia legislature that are not. I have to give them credit. And there are some in the Georgia Republican Party. The head and his second and third in command, whatever you want to call it, they're solid when it comes. If the RNC and the governors are worthless.
Well, let me not even.
The governor, the secretary, the power to order signature verification and audit signature verification is right in the hands of the Secretary of State, Crappy Burger. And that's what I call him, Crappy Burger. And Gabriel Sterling is his man. So what does that tell you? What does that so where is the remedy going to come from?
But you see, the thing is, the reason why I think this, and call me a cynic, whatever you want, but these are the people that who hold the Republican or conservative letter next to their name, who do not stand up. To me, they have something on you. Obviously, you are not the type of person that you claim yourself to be. And if you can't take your skeletons being aired out,
then why the hell are you in public life?
Why are you sitting in that chair?
That's right. Why are you in public life?
Pull up your big pants.
Go get a job in the private sector and get the hell lost. That's it.
I'm so sick and tired. Like, I understand everybody's got secrets that nobody wants to know, but if you're not okay with them coming out, then you need to go home. Stop pretending to be somebody you're not.
Yep.
End of story.
And what it does say, though, with Alito, I will say this. What it does say is that it takes the safe harbor issue. Tammy Bruce is right about that. I just was reading her take. It takes the safe harbor issue off the table. It really does. You want this? No. The phone? You want my coffee? You want my pumpkin coffee? There you go, pumpkin. Thank you. Pumpkin from my pumpkin, you know? So if there was a substantive ruling, if there was like a significant ruling, then he would be able to pave the way for that because there would still be time to do things, right? Is that me or you?
Me.
Oh, come on, Robert.
I'm more popular than
I
you,
guess.
what can I say?
Can we turn that off though, love? Yeah.
I will mute it for thee.
You know what? Let's listen to yeah, so I don't want to go on this speculation about because it's very hard to try to believe me. All these years, it's very hard to try to get in the mind of a Supreme Court justice to know what they're thinking or what they're going to do. And anytime you really do try to predict it, all these idiots go on TV. And I think the court's going to clearly indicate it. They're going to go. Yeah, it happens all the time, you know. So
but what's really annoying is that the left is like presenting as if this is a frivolous joke and that none of these things are valid. And
this is why I really think in the end, in the end, just backing up what you were saying before, these people I have been saying for years, and you know it, Laura, I don't like to blurt names out of people. I don't like to put them under the gun like that. But fact of the matter is, our friends, the lawmakers who go and beg these people for money time in and time, day in and day out, year after year. They hated this guy. They hated him. They resented him. They will do anything in their power to it. Or you know what? Some will do anything in their power, and then others will just do nothing. Like the loser in Kent County, Michigan. Yep. and or
The
crappy
bendovers
burger.
that I call.
And
like
Mr.
Mitch.
Sterling is a fraud.
Mhm.
Robert Barnes is absolutely right. He is a fraud. He said that we could see those damn ballots. They all promised to show everyone those ballots.
I
Laura.
guess if you have night vision and binoculars, you're able to see them.
They're
but
already
until
scanned,
then,
Laura.
You can't.
They're already scanned.
No, I
Why
know.
aren't they published online? Why aren't they published? They're already scanned, you know?
Ooh, a realtor call message.
Okay. Well, good. We need to, yeah. And then I hear Nate the Slimers got layoffs. And I'm like, I'm out looking for larger office space because we're growing while the Slimer is
You're
cutting
laying
people. You know what? That's what, but it's still not a true market economy.
But
It's not.
poetic justice.
Because they'll keep him afloat. He has nobody who is willing to give him anything. And he's just going to become kind of like an irrelevant thing. But the bottom line is there are people who still want him there. He serves a purpose, which is a narrative. And I'll say this because I see it as 12:20 and we were going to do an hour and a half today. And I just wanted to bring this into the mix. All right. There is Larry's article. It was an interview with me that we conducted over the weekend, and he published it today. All right. And where the hell is it? I thought I just had it to share with everybody. I'm afraid to click on the wrong thing. Lest Laura may see something that's supposed
that
to
my
be
present
from Santa, and we can't
Santa?
have that. Let me get the link here. There it is. It's for Uncover DC. I'm gonna blast it out to you guys right now. Put it in here. Larry S. interview with me on polling. Okay. And this is for the future of polling. And that's actually the Twitter link. I should have clicked the actual link. My fault here. Yeah, let me do that again. Or not even the whole thing again, but I'll just post a link. Actual link. Okay. And he's, it's supposed to be on the future of polling. We talked about a couple of different things. But the bottom line is there's something I want to circle down here. Okay. I
don't think it went that way.
All right. The best we can do, that one didn't go out. Sometimes Periscope flag stuff.
No. I was joking with you. You're like, I was like, I don't think that's what you said.
Yeah, no kidding. No, it's not. Here we go. So he says, you and I talked about this in 2016, and it appears to have happened again. These errors are always in the same direction, right? And we had talked about some of those states, and he said, we'll get back to some of this fraud later, but I want to get to the national pollsters where they write. And I said, well, let's look at some of the states. All right. Nate Cohen, he was off by 11 in Iowa, which Trump won easily. These guys were off in Ohio with Cohen having Biden +5 and Trump winning it by 8. That's an error of 13 points. Quinnipiac had Biden up 4 in Ohio. They were off by 12. So he says, you and I talked about this 20. It looks like it happened again. Why are they always in one direction? And I said, well, that's the point. So when you hear these frauds, this is not in the article. This is me right now. I had a little ad lib commentary. When you hear these frauds, try to say that they actually weren't wrong. They're full of crap. And they're full of crap for many reasons. But the biggest among them is, all right, if you look at our polling record every year, we have errors in both directions. We're almost never outside the sampling error. I don't know that you could even find a poll. I'll have to go back and look. I don't think I've ever published a public poll in which we were outside the sampling error in the result. I don't think we've ever missed a public poll outside the sampling error. I could be wrong, but I don't think so. Karen Handel by 5. I'm trying to think of some obscure races. Karen Handel by 5. We did publish a Gillum almost +4, but that was in like the late summer. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then the later polling that was for the model was DeSantis by 1. And Scott by 2. So the only thing we were off by is that we thought Scott would win by a bigger margin than DeSantis. That was a little bit reversed. But that was because, doing the autopsy on that, by the way, that was because there were multiple third-party candidates and non-major party candidates on the gubernatorial ballot, but there was nothing on the senatorial ballot. It was just Scott and Nelson. And more candidates can add more potential error to the mix. All right. But yeah, I can't, in my mind, come up with one where I was outside of the polling sampling error. And when we do have errors that are still within, right, we'll miss both ways. Like, so overestimate Trump a little bit in Arizona, but overestimate Biden in Minnesota. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is what I said. You might have some confidence in them if they were occasionally wrong the other way. Where are the 5-point overestimates for Trump? Anywhere? There aren't any. He won the state of Ohio by 8 points. And yet, not only were there no Trump plus 13s in Ohio like there were in Wisconsin for Biden, like there were in Michigan, and right?
Yeah.
There were no Trump plus 13s in Iowa. There were no Trump plus 8s in Florida. There were Biden plus 8s.
Of course.
Even though he got stomped in Florida. He got stomped worse than anybody has been stomped since George Bush stomped John Kerry. He got stomped worse than John McCain got stomped by Barack Obama in 2008.
When you can count Florida and call
in
it
an hour,
in an hour,
it's over. It's a beating.
That tells you everything you need to know.
Oh my God.
Once you called that, I was like, you were like Trump. I was like, already? Like, you remember? I looked at you. I was like, no, not already. You go, yeah, already.
So
and I said, what the fish and chips? This man cleaned everybody's clock.
We haven't seen a victory like that in Florida since George W. Bush defeated John Kerry by 4 points, for over 4 points in 2004. Florida isn't won like that anymore. It doesn't happen. Even Barack Obama, he won by under 3 points in 2008 against John McCain. And a year where he got the highest number of electoral votes since Ronald Reagan. So it just doesn't make any sense. There's so many anomalies that just don't make any sense. But the fact of the matter remains, where were the Trump plus 8s in Florida? Where were the Trump plus 13s in Ohio? Where were the Trump plus 13s in Iowa? And in other states? Where were the misses in the other direction? When you are doing this, guys, it is not possible. Let me say this again. It is not possible for you to miss all in one direction if you're polling legitimately. It's just not possible. It's not likely even, that you can make a mistake like that if your methodology is the cause, the blame. You have to be adding some kind of bias to the mix. You have to.
Kind of.
Or more than bias and manipulation. I don't know how Langer Research survives after their Biden plus 17 in Wisconsin. Who the hell will ever take them seriously again?
I mean, if the left really needs a new career to look into, I think fictional writing. They should just open up a publishing company and go with it, because
Laura,
that is their forte.
That is not reality. That was never reality.
They paint a psychotic world, and I have to deal with these crazy people in real life. Like, for instance, when we were in Michael's, that guy who kicked that cart at that poor lady, and I of course defended her, and then of course you defend me. But the thing is, that's what they manipulate, because
they
honestly,
that guy.
If we weren't there, what would he have really
what
done
would he
to
have
that
done to
woman?
her? Yeah.
And I even gave that woman my phone number and said, call me.
Yeah.
And let me know you got to your car, and if you want, we'll walk you to your car.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how confrontational and nasty that these people are creating this monster. And it's really sad, it's scary, and
all in one direction.
But
all in one direction. And it's from news reporting to polling.
Mm-hmm.
In Arizona, we missed by a little over 2. I also missed in Minnesota by a little over 2. But that we overestimated Trump in Arizona by a little over 2 points, overestimated Joe Biden in Minnesota by a little over 2 points. It should be not just in polling. It really does need to be both ways.
Mm-hmm.
Errors need to swing in both directions. You cannot explain why you're constantly off in one direction. And then you have a fraud like Nate Silver, who puts together his faux, bogus, totally fraudulent pollster scorecards, and somehow these pollsters don't have the bias lean that that they absolutely did, right? So, for instance, I have a couple of them here. I wish I had Ohio or Iowa to show people, because it would be the worst.
They wanted to challenge Ohio?
In Maine, it was so bad. But this is like generally Maine 2nd Congressional District. Trump won that by 8 points. And yet you can clearly see here, here's Wisconsin. Let me grab Wisconsin. This is the biggest whiff of them all. Oh, no, there it is. There's Wisconsin right there. This is good enough. Okay. Ohio's bad, but Wisconsin's bad enough. Look at that. ABC, Washington Post, 17. Marquette, no longer the gold standard. They have been called the gold standard in Wisconsin for years. The Marquette Law Poll, they are not the gold standard.
I guess
anymore.
the value of gold went
down. I guess the value of gold is not what it used to be. There may be the pewter standard, okay? Or the pyrite standard. Yep.
Because it's false gold.
They're all in ridiculous directions that favored Joe Biden. That race is separated by 0.2%. There wasn't a single Trump plus one. Not a single Trump plus one. That is not how this works. It is not how this works. Galt said, if you could mathematically quantify the fraud error, you were on point in Arizona. I'll tell you what, Galt. I'll tell you this. And I said it in that interview that I just tweeted out. I will take it to my grave that I was right in Pennsylvania. I know I was right in Pennsylvania. I will never believe that those ballots that arrived 2 days later in Erie County and 2 days later in Lackawanna and 2 days or a day later in they told us how much they had left in Philadelphia. We knew that, or supposedly. All right. I will never, ever be convinced that I was not right in Pennsylvania.
You were right in PA.
I will never, ever admit that was a polling error. And it wasn't, in fact, because it was well within the sampling error. But I'm saying the projected winner, it just broke down everywhere, like the polling said, until those anomalies we were talking about a little bit with Robert yesterday. Those late arriving ballots that just broke in such ridiculous. You guys have to understand, we did have samples of mail-in ballots prior to those late dumps. Okay. They did favor Biden. They just didn't favor Biden by the margins that people were saying they were going to, and not by enough. And not even by his own campaign standards. The way the early vote broke down that was first reported in Pennsylvania was not big enough compared to Donald Trump's election day vote. By his own campaign's metrics, he was about to lose the state of Pennsylvania, and badly, by the way, upwards of maybe 2 points. He was going to lose the state of Pennsylvania. And if you would talk to them that night, they would tell you he exceeded it because there was only 2.4 mail-in ballots. That's it.
I really wish
2.4 million.
Go to sleep when we told them
2.4 million. What happened is they just, when you don't follow those integrity deadlines, you really have no chain of custody. I mean, look at Delaware County. Look at Montgomery. They've lost hard drives. I mean, it's a total joke. It's a hot mess. It's a hot mess. And you're telling me all of that happened, but Bucks County didn't move? You're joking, right?
I'm sorry.
By the time there was as many votes as was totally cast in 2016 in Bucks County, Donald Trump had a lead. A lead. The late mail-in ballots, late arriving mail-in ballots is what flipped Bucks County. That's also what flipped Lackawanna. That's what flipped Lehigh, and so on and so on and so on. Monroe, right? And Erie. So forget about just Allegheny. Like Republicans focus on these urban centers. In truth, Trump did better in most of these urban centers than he did in 2016.
That's the irony of it all. That if he
7
did
points better in
urban
Philadelphia, Laura.
Almost
7 points.
I mean, I don't understand. Listen, let's
so
say
flipping this.
I'm sorry, I'm getting mad. That's why I'll put the paper down. I won't hurt it.
It's weird.
Let's just say if the roles were reversed, right? And let's say I'm a Democrat, and let's say
here we go.
And I see what's happening, and
Laura, they would get it. They would get it. We talked about this yesterday on What Are the Odds. I know where you're going. They would get it. Look at North Carolina. They didn't even meet the burden of.
I'm not even saying
they got their new election.
No, they would get their new election. But I'm saying let's flip the roles and let me be a Democrat, and what's happening really truly happens as a human. me watching things and looking at them come in,
well, clearly a lot of Democratic voters, Laura,
yeah,
do
but they're
agree
not
with
as
what
much
you're
as
saying.
an uproar as they should be, and
Then maybe that's true.
And you know what? And their representatives are promoting it.
Well, maybe that's it. Maybe I understand what you're saying, and maybe that's true. But you can clearly see in the Georgia poll that they don't believe this.
I know
they don't. You can see it.
And that's
and
what I'm saying.
they support
the data
voter
that
ID,
came in,
Laura.
Richie. Like, come on.
I know they support voter ID, Laura. They do. I mean, it's not even close.
For the
signature verification
media to sit there and say, "Oh, well, we can't do that because not everybody can afford a license or a state.
The state
ID.
gives out IDs,
like,
right?
What?
That's such a fraud. And here they are,
but
right
if they
here,
want a pack
real
of
quick.
Cigarettes, they could get it.
Right here. Let's get. Well, that's what's funny today. Holding the Hyde Amendment hearing, right? Because they're always supposed to be the champion of minorities. All right? That was the point of me going over this crosstab right here, this race ethnicity crosstab right here that's highlighted. White Caucasian that strongly oppose 2%. That's them. That's them. If you look at Black or African American, look at Asians, look at Hispanics, they don't agree with them at all. So I don't know who they think they're championing. The ACLU today, the hearing in the House on the Hyde Amendment that Democrats are holding, the ban on federal funding abortions, right? The ACLU wants a champion of people of color and civil liberties for people of color. They are now a lobby promoting the killing of minority babies because that's what they're effectively asking to do. Stuff the pockets of rich white liberals who kill Black babies.
And they,
that's what
they
this
have
is.
No idea what the true history behind the making
that
of
whole
Planned
movement.
Parenthood.
Okay.
Absolutely.
And no, they do. You talk the whites do.
No,
they do. The white liberals, they know, I'm saying, Laura. Of course they know.
The Black community to sit there and support that, if they really,
but they don't.
I know.
For the most part, they really don't. That's the thing. And it's from voter ID to social issues like that. There are large shares that they're not the champion of. They don't speak for them. Mm-hmm. They've been shafted by their community leaders for years. They are bought off by the white liberal, and they don't help or represent their communities at all. You know that, and I know that. Reporter? We're not born with silver spoons in our mouth. You know it, and I know it. You know the reality of those communities, and so do I. I got more hours in an American ghetto than Barack Obama has in his life.
Oh man, I could walk the
first 17 years of my life. The first 17 years of my life, I amassed more time in an American ghetto than Barack Obama will ever spend, and he came out of Chicago.
Yeah, all right. He was in Ivy League.
They are their community leaders are in it for themselves, and they get. They have a good deal. They got a good setup, with the white liberal, the white, machine, the white liberal machine. And it's like, to hell with their own communities.
I want that CNN reporter fired.
Which one? What are you talking
one
about?
That was making the comments about Hispanics, how we were.
That was not a reporter. That was the executive. Like, no, she's like some kind of executive at CNN, Laura. She is Laura's talking about no, she's not a reporter. She's like one of the top wigs at CNN. What Laura's talking about is that Veritas video where she said that Hispanics are just attracted to bullies somehow. Like there's something like inherently attractive about bullies, and that's the only reason why Hispanics are going to vote for Donald Trump in Florida.
That's ridiculous. Hasn't met me.
It's not the Florida poll. They're also just ignorant. The Florida poll, every single issue, Guatemalans, Venezuelans, Cubans, down the list, Mexicans, even every single issue. They weren't voting for him, not only because of the socialist communist shtick. That is a big part. There's no doubt. But it was every single issue. Who do you think will do a better job to handle COVID? They picked Donald Trump over Joe Biden. And by the way, Donald Trump had a lead over Joe Biden on that issue statewide. So it wasn't just, it was everything. Trade deals.
And I love that the definition of bully now is somebody that doesn't want to kowtow to you. somebody who will present facts is now a bully.
Right.
I mean,
well, the ACLU is now a bully. They used to defend people of color against bullies, what are essentially bullies,
well,
right?
now they're the
White
ultimate
bullies.
grift.
Now look, they're pushing, and I'm not, look, you know me, I'm not, I got less, I got more pro-life as I became a father. And when you realize, it's not just theoretical anymore.
It's
you
not
know,
a fetus.
you watch your wife with an ultrasound, you can see your little baby at a couple of weeks. You know that was all just a total fraud, a total lie. We use these words to make ourselves feel better about what we do, but it isn't at all.
It's to desensitize.
Yeah, it's to desensitize you. Right. It's not reality, but But the bottom line is, I am not like one of those Bible thumping anti-abortion people, but but it is reality that they were once champions and now they're the ultimate bully, because now they're really, you have to be the ultimate bully must be someone who picks on or hurts or kills something that can't even defend itself. Can't even defend itself. That is a bully. Really, that's the ultimate bully. Right? I mean, I know everyone has different views on abortion, just as a, and I get that, but you can't take away from it that these people, that what they advocate is like the ultimate bully. How dare you make comments about bullies?
Well, because you go again. It's the projectionist in them.
Yeah.
They cannot face the truth of any sort. And once confronted with the truth, they will project it onto you. Then you're the bad person. You're the evil person.
Yeah.
And
I'm like taking away someone's right to choose or something. I mean, you're kidding me. I mean, what maybe that's even true, but which is worse?
Well,
which is
worse? They also try to pull the, raped women shouldn't have to. Well, you know what? Then inside the rape kit, morning after pill. You know what I'm saying?
That is such a small, tiny thing. They always find these little. They try to find the most egregious, most
smallest.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I mean, really, come on. I'm trying to look for her. There she is. Okay, Cynthia Hudson. That's who you were talking about. She is the senior vice president and managing director of CNN.
Oh, is she? Cynthia Hudson.
I'm not kidding.
I would like to tell you something.
They will never fire her for this. They all believe that, Laura.
Miss Hudson, you're a moron. I don't care what kind of schooling.
She's ignorant. She's totally ignorant.
But for you to lump all Hispanic culture as in people who like to be bullied, you haven't met me.
Laura, trade deals. I'm telling you, they're every issue.
Hispanic culture,
what they cared about was
they like strong men.
Yeah.
They like men who will stand up for themselves.
It's not a bully. It's
not
just
a bully.
masculinity.
It's somebody who is able to sit there and tell you no. Okay?
A fighter.
Kiss my
a fighter.
grits.
A fighter is not, it is not necessarily equated to bully.
Yes. Okay, but sorry.
Every single,
she ticked me off,
every
guys.
single issue in the Florida poll, in the Cuban poll, right, which is conducted by the University of South Florida, I believe, every year, and they speak to thousands of Hispanics in South Florida. It's a big poll. There was not a single, not even healthcare, I believe. There wasn't a single issue where they chose Joe Biden over Donald Trump. It was not because of anything. It's just ridiculous. What she said is ridiculous. It's superficial and it's ignorant, and it really overlooks so much of the other thing. They just flatly don't agree with you, lady. They don't agree with you, lady. Mm-hmm. That's it. All right. It is 12:43. We're over the time
so
here.
That's not,
it's 12:43. We are over the time. So let's kick rocks. But before we go here, don't forget to subscribe to the channel on YouTube. All right, People's Pundit Daily on YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe and then hit the notification bell. That'll let you know when we're going to go live. Don't forget, of course, if you are still a Facebook user, all right, even after Mark Zuckerberg's Dropbox ideas, if you're still a Facebook user, don't forget to like the page People's Pundit Daily on Facebook. We very much appreciate it. And of course, the ultimate way to support the show is to subscribe to BPD. But you know what? We appreciate whether you subscribe, whether you contribute, whether you share the show or just watch it. We appreciate
love and
it
adore
all,
you.
and we love you guys. All right.
And I just want to say, personal message to Jack Dorsey, you're a punk. Answer my Twitter messages.
She will not answer.
You are a punk.
Yeah.
Hiding behind your little keyboard. And that's not the only thing that's probably...
Laura are still suspended. And they will not even respond. Not even respond. I bet you when the Georgia runoffs done, they'll pop us back up. They're not done yet. Their war is not really over yet, right? Mm-hmm. So they'll put us back, Laura, after that. All right, so I'm gonna kick rocks out of here, guys. We will see you back tomorrow.
We love you guys.
Inside the numbers.
Inside the numbers.
With the People's Pundit. All the best.
How much you wanna bet that I can get you back inside your head before the summer ends and spread a little love. Just for a little fun, I'll make you come back to me before the rise of every sun. Baby, it's meant to be. I know you got a man, but he don't understand. You're gonna be a heartbreaker. You're such a love taker. So just suck me in and you can toss me like a cigarette. 'Cause I just wanna be a bad habit, yeah. There's rhythm in our love, it's impressive, excessive. You can't make this stuff up. My chest beats, it's restless, wakes the neighbors up above. Yeah, baby, come and show me love. Baby, come and show me love. Because you're gonna be a heartbreaker. You're such a love taker. So just suck me in and you can toss me like a cigarette. 'Cause I just wanna be a bad habit, yeah.
Get on a plane and take a one-way ride. Steal us away to find a place we can hide. It wouldn't take much to spear for a night, just to give in to the need and leave it all behind.
'Cause I know that you know that I know that you want me. You told me, now show me, come blow me away. 'Cause I know that you know that I know that you want me. You told me, now show me, come blow